This story is titled, "My ex told me I was too high maintenance because I asked him to shower daily, so I dated a plumber just to prove a point. He fixed my sink and my standards." Okay, picture this shit. Your boyfriend calls you high maintenance because you suggested that maybe he could introduce his body to water more than once per lunar cycle. Not even with fancy soap. Just water. The stuff that literally falls from the sky for free. Girl, let me tell you about Dan, my ex who thought personal hygiene was an optional DLC pack for being human. This story is better with wine, so pour yourself a glass, because you're about to hear how I upgraded from a human Febreze commercial to a man who actually knows what a loofah is. So there I am, Katie, 27F, dating what I thought was a functioning adult male, Dan, 29M, until I realized he was basically a middle school gym bag that learned to code. You know those guys who think their gaming chair is a personality trait? That was Dan, except he also believed showering was a conspiracy created by Big Soap to suppress his natural musk. His idea of freshening up? Axe body spray. So much Axe. His apartment smelled like a 13-year-old's definition of masculinity had a baby with a Hot Topic clearance sale. The man owned a $3,000 gaming PC but thought bar soap was bourgeois. I wish I was making this up. This human petri dish actually had the audacity to tell me that showering daily strips your natural oils. Honey, the only thing being stripped was my will to live every time he took off his shoes. His feet didn't have bacteria, they had civilizations. Advanced ones. With infrastructure. The final straw? My friend's dinner party. Dan shows up looking like he'd just emerged from a 4-day coding bender in a bunker, which, surprise, surprise, he had. Jessica, my brutally honest bestie, takes one look at him and asks if he's doing a social experiment about water conservation. In February, I tried to have the talk. You know the one, where you delicately suggest that perhaps personal hygiene shouldn't be treated like a yearly performance review. His response? Einstein didn't shower every day. First of all, Einstein also thought socks were overrated and married his cousin, so maybe let's not take lifestyle advice from him. Second, Einstein revolutionized physics. Dan's greatest achievement was reaching diamond rank in League of Legends while marinating in his own juices. But here's where it gets rich. This man, who had moss growing between his toes, I'm only slightly exaggerating, looks me dead in the eye and says, "You're too high maintenance. I need someone more low-key." Me? High maintenance? I once saw him spend 3 hours color coordinating his keyboard's RGB lighting to match his coding mood. He refused to eat lettuce because it was too fancy. But suggesting that maybe he could wash his ass more than once a week makes me high maintenance? Oh, but karma. Karma is a beautiful bitch with a sense of humor. Because the day after our breakup, my sink decided to become as dysfunctional as my dating choices. Enter Mike, the plumber who showed up to fix it. Let me tell you, watching a man who knows his way around proper drainage changed my whole perspective on what maintenance really means. But wait, let me tell you about the breakup first, because holy shit, you need to hear how Dan tried to defend his natural musk, as if he was protecting an endangered species. Pour another glass, because this is where it gets good. So the breakup, girl, grab more wine because this is where it gets wild. Picture me, sitting Dan down for what I thought would be a rational adult conversation about basic hygiene. Spoiler alert, trying to have a mature discussion with someone who thinks laundry is optional is like trying to explain calculus to a goldfish. I had actually prepared for this talk. Made a whole PowerPoint presentation called "Why Water is Your Friend," a TED Talk for my boyfriend. Even included scientific studies about bacteria growth. You know you've hit rock bottom in a relationship when you have to cite peer-reviewed articles about why washing your ass isn't optional. Dan, I said, trying to breathe through my mouth, we need to talk about your approach to personal maintenance. He paused his game, which, honestly, should have told me how bad this was going to go, because this man once kept playing through a literal fire alarm. Is this about the shower thing again? I told you, I read this article on Reddit. If the next words out of your mouth involve natural biology or ancient humans, I'm going to lose it. Cave people also died at 30, Dan. That's when this man, this human swamp, hit me with, you know, my mom says I'm perfect just the way I am. Your mom also still does your laundry, and I'm pretty sure she's the one who sneaks into your room at night to replace your sheets while you're gaming. That's not true. I changed my sheets last. He actually had to count backwards. Like, with his fingers. In March. It was August. But the coup de grace? He pulls out his phone to show me this WikiHow article about natural cleaning methods written by someone called Organic Bro 420. I wish I was making this up. See? It says right here that soap is a modern invention and our ancestors. Our ancestors also thought leeches cured headaches and the earth was flat, Dan. And they didn't have to debug Python code in a room that smells like expired Mountain Dew and broken dreams. That's when he dropped the bomb that actually made me laugh out loud. My gaming buddies say I'm the most hygienic one in our Discord. The bar is in hell, y'all. I lost it. Your gaming buddies once had to make a new server because the old one got too toxic. They're not exactly the World Health Organization. Well, if you're going to be this high maintenance, he huffed, actually huffed, like a Victorian lady who just heard someone say ankle. Maybe you should date a neat freak who shares your obsession with cleanliness. Basic hygiene isn't an obsession, Dan. It's literally the bare minimum for being a functioning member of society. Whatever. I bet you want someone who showers every day like some kind of water enthusiast. I couldn't help it. I started laughing. Like, tears streaming down my face laughing. A water enthusiast? Is that what we're calling people who practice basic hygiene now? What's next? Are people who brush their teeth dental extremists? He actually looked offended. Then came the final line, the one that made me question every life choice that led me to this moment. You know what your problem is? You've been brainwashed by Big Soap. They've got you thinking you need all these products when really, a true man's natural scent is his best cologne. That's when my body went into self-preservation mode and I actually gagged. Not a delicate, polite gag. We're talking full-on, almost lost my lunch gag. And you know what this man said? See? Your body is so used to artificial fragrances that you can't even handle natural pheromones anymore. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. Dan, the only thing your pheromones are attracting is mold spores. We're done. Fine. He called after me. Good luck finding someone who meets your impossible standards of checks notes basic personal hygiene. Little did I know, the universe was about to send me exactly that, along with a much-needed lesson in proper plumbing. Because sometimes, girl, you need a man who knows how to handle his own pipes before he tries to handle yours. The universe has a sense of humor, I'll give it that. The day after I broke up with Captain No Shower, my sink decided to have a mental breakdown. Like, full-on midlife crisis, making sounds that reminded me of Dan trying to explain why socks were foot prisons. So there I am, standing in my kitchen at 7 a.m., watching my sink regurgitate what looked like the last 3 months of bad decisions, when my landlord sends over emergency plumber Mike, 35M. And girl, let me tell you about Mike. You know how they say you don't know what you're missing until you see it? Mike walks in, and I swear angels started singing. Or maybe it was just the pipes, but whatever. First thing I notice? He smells like soap. Not Axe body spray. Not natural musk. Not gamer essence. Actual, honest-to-God soap. Morning, he says, and I'm already swooning because his shirt is not only clean but actually ironed. Heard you've got a drainage issue? I nearly blurted out, yeah, my ex-boyfriend, but managed to point at the sink instead. Mike takes one look at the sink and says, classic case of neglected maintenance. You'd be surprised how many people think these things fix themselves. The irony. I had to bite my tongue to stop from saying, speaking of neglected maintenance, want to hear about my dating history? He starts explaining the problem, and I'm hit with this revelation. This man knows more about proper cleaning and maintenance than my ex knew about basic human hygiene. He's talking about regular upkeep, preventative care, the importance of not ignoring small problems before they become big ones, basically delivering the same sermon I'd been trying to preach to Dan about showering. You see, Mike says, pulling out something that looked like it came from the sink's prehistoric era, this is what happens when you ignore the warning signs. Like when your boyfriend thinks deodorant is optional? I mutter. He actually laughs. Sounds like you've got experience with poor maintenance. Let's just say my ex treated personal hygiene the way some people treat their check engine light. Ignore it and hope it goes away. Mike's under my sink now, doing something complicated with wrenches when he drops this wisdom. You know, in my line of work, you learn pretty quick that everything needs regular maintenance. Pipes, homes, relationships, even yourself. I almost proposed right there. Then he says something that makes me question if he's actually real. I actually keep a maintenance schedule for my home. Daily, weekly, monthly checks. Prevents big problems down the line. A maintenance schedule. This man has a maintenance schedule. Meanwhile, Dan once tried to convince me that black socks could be worn indefinitely because the dirt doesn't show. Mike finishes fixing my sink in about an hour, explaining everything he's doing, why he's doing it, and how to prevent future issues. It's like watching a documentary about actual adult responsibility, narrated by someone who owns more than one towel and knows how to use them. As he's packing up his tools, which are organized better than my entire life, he hands me his card. If you have any more plumbing issues, give me a call. Or, if you want to grab coffee and talk more about proper maintenance of any kind. Did this man just use a plumbing metaphor to ask me out? And why was it working? I look at his card. Mike Sullivan, Master Plumber. We keep things flowing smoothly, and realize I'm actually blushing over a plumber with clean fingernails and a maintenance schedule. Dan could never. But wait, it gets better. Because when I tell you how our first date went and how Mike reacted when I told him about Dan's shower is optional philosophy, girl, you're gonna need another glass of wine for this one. So there I am, holding Mike's business card like it's a golden ticket to properly maintained adult man land. When my phone buzzes, it's Dan. Because of course it is. Just wanted to let you know, his text reads, I did some research and discovered that ancient Spartans didn't shower daily either. I show the text to Mike, who's still packing up his tools in an organized toolbox, not a Mountain Dew box like some people I know. Ancient Spartans also died at 30, Mike says without missing a beat. And they didn't have to debug JavaScript in an air-conditioned office. I think I fell a little bit in love right there. We set up that coffee date for the next day, and let me tell you, watching a man order a drink with his actual real name instead of XX Dark Lord 420XX was surprisingly hot. Mike shows up early, wearing a clean shirt that's been introduced to an iron, and smelling like actual cologne, not what Dan used to call his natural gamer musk. So, Mike says, settling into his chair like someone who owns actual furniture and not just a gaming chair, tell me more about this ex who thought hygiene was optional. I give him the highlight reel, the great shower debate, the Reddit hygiene theories, the big soap conspiracy. By the time I get to Dan's water enthusiast comment, Mike's choking on his coffee. Wait, he says, wiping his mouth with an actual napkin, not his sleeve. He thought daily showers were extreme? In this economy? In this climate? He once told me that his keyboard needed more regular cleaning than his body because, and I quote, you can't get Cheeto dust on your soul. Mike looks genuinely concerned. You know, in my line of work, we have a term for ignoring regular maintenance. We call it future emergency. Then he tells me about his own daily routine, and girl, I nearly proposed right there. This man has a skincare routine that isn't just splashing Monster Energy on his face. More than one towel, and they're color-coded by use. A regular laundry schedule that doesn't revolve around sniff testing. An actual bed frame. With matching sheets. Matching sheets. It's just basic maintenance, he says, like it's the most normal thing in the world. You maintain your car, your home. Why wouldn't you maintain yourself? Meanwhile, Dan once tried to convince me that black socks could be worn indefinitely because the dirt doesn't show. But the real moment of truth came when Mike started talking about his view on relationships. It's like any good plumbing system, he says, and I swear this plumbing metaphor was sexier than any pickup line I'd ever heard. You need regular maintenance, clear communication, and you have to address issues before they become major blockages. Dan's idea of relationship maintenance was remembering to tag me in gaming memes. As we're finishing our coffee, Mike asks if I'd like to have dinner sometime. I know this great Italian place, he says. Unless you think restaurants are a conspiracy by Big Fork? I laugh so hard I snort coffee through my nose, and instead of looking disgusted, like Dan would have, Mike just hands me a clean handkerchief. An actual handkerchief. Not a used napkin, not his sleeve, not a random gaming receipt. Just as I'm about to answer, my phone buzzes again. Another text from Dan, just did a poll on my Discord server. 9/10 gamers agree that daily showers are overrated. I show it to Mike, who raises an eyebrow and says, you know what's not overrated? Having a date who doesn't need to crowdsource basic hygiene decisions. That's when I knew. This man wasn't just going to fix my plumbing, he was going to fix my standards. You know how they say living well is the best revenge? Try dating a man with actual bathroom towels while your ex starts a Reddit thread called The Truth About Big Soap, a gamer's manifesto. 3 weeks into dating Mike, I'm learning that adult men can actually be adults. Like, he has a spice rack that isn't just different flavors of Doritos. His bathroom contains multiple cleaning products, not just a 3-in-1 shampoo/body wash/motor oil that he bought in bulk during a Steam sale. Meanwhile, Dan's gone full crusader in his anti-hygiene campaign. He keeps sending me evidence to prove he was right. Found this article about a guy who hasn't showered in 50 years. Me? Is he still alive? Dan, that's not the point. Studies show cave people didn't use soap. Mike, reading over my shoulder, they also didn't have Cheeto dust in their keyboard. But here we are. But my favorite was his scientific experiment. Dan decided to document his natural musk development on TikTok. He called it #NoShowerChallenge. His mother called it the reason she's changing the locks. He even started a Discord server called Natural Gamers Rising, where they share tips about alternative hygiene. Their most popular post is why Axe body spray is government mind control. Then came the incident. Dan showed up at my apartment unannounced, looking like he'd been marinating in Mountain Dew and poor life choices. Unfortunately, Mike was there, fixing my dishwasher, Yes, he still does my plumbing, both professionally and, well, you know. I've been doing research, Dan announced, holding up his phone like it was the holy grail of bad hygiene. Did you know that in medieval times, people also died from drinking water and thought leeches cured headaches? Mike interrupted, not even looking up from his work. Want to try those too? Dan puffed up like an unwashed peacock. Oh, so you're the maintenance man she left me for? The one who's been brainwashed by big soap. Mike finally stood up, and let me tell you, watching a man who clearly knows what deodorant is tower over my ex was better than any Netflix drama. Listen, buddy, Mike said, wiping his very clean hands on a very clean towel. I maintain things for a living. That includes myself. You want to see what happens to pipes when they're neglected? Same thing happens to relationships. That's false equivalency. Dan sputtered. Human bodies are self-cleaning. So are cats, I chimed in, but they still do a better job at it than you. That's when Dan played his trump card. He pulled out a crumpled printout of a conspiracy theory website about how the personal hygiene industry is run by lizard people. Mike just looked at him and said, you know what else is a conspiracy? The idea that women will put up with a man who thinks mouthwash is optional. Dan left in a huff, but not before shouting, you've both been corrupted by big hygiene. When the truth comes out about the soap industry, you'll see. Mike turned to me after Dan left and said, you know, in plumbing, we call that kind of buildup a total blockage. Usually requires complete system replacement. Is that your professional opinion? I asked. That, and I'd recommend upgrading to a better model with proper maintenance protocols. And there it was, proof that sometimes you need to date a guy who treats basic hygiene like a war crime to appreciate a man who knows the importance of regular maintenance. Though I did hear Dan's hashtag no shower challenge got shut down after his gaming chair filed for humanitarian asylum. 6 months into dating Mike, and I'm living in a world where basic hygiene isn't considered a controversial stance. Meanwhile, Dan's crusade against cleanliness has reached levels that would make even conspiracy theorists say, bro, maybe take a shower. Let me catch you up on Dan's descent into hygiene rebellion. First, he started a YouTube channel called The Unwashed Truth. His most popular video, Why Romans Used Sand Instead of Soap, and you should too, got taken down for violating community guidelines about promoting harmful practices. Apparently, suggesting that gamers should scrub themselves with cat litter isn't advertiser-friendly. His gaming buddies started a GoFundMe for his fight against big soap. They raised $7.42 and a coupon for Axe body spray. The irony? The coupon expired because Dan insisted expiration dates were another tool of corporate oppression. The final straw came during his live-streamed Month of Natural Living challenge. His mom watched for 5 minutes before calling Adult Protective Services. They sent someone to check on him, which he claimed was proof of the soap industry's dark influence on government agencies. Meanwhile, life with Mike is like discovering there's a whole world beyond musty gaming chairs and Mountain Dew-stained hoodies. The man actually owns an iron and knows how to use it. Do you know how sexy it is when a man can remove wrinkles without having to call his mom? But it's not just about the cleaning habits. Mike approaches everything in life with the same attention to detail he gives to his plumbing work. Like when he noticed my shower's water pressure was low and fixed it without me having to mention it. Dan once fixed my laptop by putting it in rice after spilling energy drink on it, while it was still running. The best part? Mike's professional approach to maintenance extends to our relationship. We have actual date nights, not just watch me stream on Twitch while I ignore you sessions. He plans things in advance, communicates clearly, and, this is crucial, doesn't need a Discord poll to decide if brushing teeth counts as optional DLC for your mouth. Yes, Dan actually created that poll. Last week, Dan made one final attempt to prove his point. He showed up at my place again, this time with a PowerPoint presentation titled The Historical Evidence Against Daily Washing, a gamer's perspective. Unfortunately for him, Mike was installing my new bathroom fixtures. Yes, he still does my plumbing, among other things. Dan took one look at my sparkling new chrome faucet and actually gasped. Is this what you've become? A slave to big bathroom? Mike, ever the professional, just smiled and said, better than being a slave to poor maintenance habits. Speaking of which, your hair is starting to look a bit structural. It's not dirty, Dan protested. It's achieving its natural form. Natural form? I couldn't help but chime in. Dan, your hair looks like it could qualify for its own zip code. That's when Dan dropped his ultimate revelation. He'd started an online community called Gamers Against Grooming, GAG for short. He didn't understand why everyone kept reporting his hashtag to the FBI. Mike, still perfectly calm, just handed Dan his business card. When you're ready to understand the importance of proper maintenance, give me a call. First consultation is free. Dan left in a huff, but not before declaring that he'd exposed the truth about big soap on his blog. The blog that, ironically, nobody wanted to touch. Later that night, cuddled up with Mike on my clean couch with my clean boyfriend who smells like actual soap, I got one last text from Dan. Just wait. One day the world will realize that showering is a social construct. I showed it to Mike, who just laughed and said, "You know what else is a social construct? Dating someone who thinks hygiene is optional." And that's when I knew. Sometimes you have to date a man who thinks deodorant is propaganda to appreciate one who understands that maintenance isn't just about pipes. 1 year later, and life has a funny way of working out. Mike and I are now living together in an apartment where everything actually works. The pipes, the relationship, and yes, the shower gets regular use. Last week, we got an unexpected wedding invitation. Not from Dan, who's still trying to get his gamers against grooming movement off the ground, but from his mom. Plot twist. She's marrying a professional house cleaner she met while trying to decontaminate Dan's old room. The invitation came with a pointed note. Dress code includes having showered within the last 24 hours. Dan, naturally, is boycotting the wedding. He claims his mom has gone to the dark side of Big Clean. He even started a change.org petition to stop the soap industry's infiltration of family units. It got 3 signatures, all from his gaming Discord, and one was definitely his alt account. The last I heard, he's living in a gaming commune where they've sworn off artificial cleaning products. They call themselves the Natural Gamers Collective. Their neighbors call them that weird-smelling house the HOA keeps writing letters about. Meanwhile, Mike just proposed, not with some grand, flashy gesture, but in the most perfectly Mike way possible. He created a relationship maintenance schedule that ended with lifetime commitment upgrade installation penciled in for next spring. I said yes before he could make another plumbing metaphor, though he managed to slip in something about joining our pipe work permanently. The ring? Perfectly clean and sparkly. The proposal? Followed by an actual shower. The future? Looking crystal clear, just like our bathroom mirror, which, unlike Dan's, isn't covered in Mountain Dew splashback. Dan sent one final message when he heard about our engagement. Hope you enjoy your life of conformist cleanliness. Did you know ancient wedding ceremonies didn't require bathing? I showed it to Mike, who just smiled and said, "You know what else ancient ceremonies didn't have? Indoor plumbing and life expectancy over 35. So here's what I learned from dating a man who thought hygiene was optional before upgrading to one who understands the value of maintenance. 1. Sometimes you need to date a human petri dish to appreciate a man who owns more than one towel. 2. High maintenance usually means has basic standards. 3. The best kind of relationship is like good plumbing. It works smoothly, gets regular maintenance, and doesn't make suspicious noises in the middle of the night. 4. Never trust a man whose gaming chair has better hygiene than he does. As for my standards being too high, turns out they weren't high at all. They were just basic maintenance requirements for a functioning adult relationship. And sometimes you need a professional to show you that proper maintenance isn't just about keeping the pipes clean. It's about respecting yourself enough to take care of all aspects of your life. Mike just read this over my shoulder and added, "Remember, in both plumbing and relationships, if it stinks, there's probably a problem that needs fixing." Words to live by, especially if your ex thinks deodorant is a government tracking device. P.S. Dan's Natural Gamers Collective got shut down last week. Apparently, there are laws about composting your furniture. Who knew?